You're there with him, and suddenly, without warning, his hands slide beneath your knees. There's a pause, just a fraction of a second, where the air itself seems to hold its breath. And then that lift, your legs rise, the angle changes, and something fundamental transforms in the space between you. Your heart skips, your breath catches, and for reasons you can't quite name, everything feels different, more intense, more real, more you. If you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you've wondered why that simple gesture seems to unlock something so profound, you're not alone. Because here's what most women don't realize: it's never random. That move, that moment, that shift in position isn't just physical choreography. It's a language, a silent conversation happening beneath the surface of touch and breath. And what it's saying goes far deeper than you might imagine. Let's start with what actually happens in that instant. When he lifts your legs, several things occur simultaneously. Your pelvis tilts. Your lower back softens into the surface beneath you. Your abdominal muscles, which you've been unconsciously holding tense throughout your entire day, finally release. Your core, which has been braced against the world, finally lets down its guard. And in that release, nerve pathways that have been dormant suddenly wake up. Your body, which has been functioning on autopilot through meetings and meals and mundane conversations, suddenly remembers it's alive. This isn't metaphor, this is anatomy. But not the clinical detached kind you learned in health class. This is your body's secret architecture, the design you were born with, the blueprint that makes you capable of sensation most people never access. When your legs lift and your hips tilt, blood flow redirects, sensitivity heightens. The pelvic floor, which you've spent years unconsciously tensing, suddenly has permission to soften. Muscles you didn't even know you were holding finally release their grip. Your nervous system, which spends most of its time managing stress and scanning for danger, finally gets permission to feel pleasure instead. It's as if your entire body has been waiting for this signal, this green light, this moment where protection mode switches off and presence mode switches on. But here's where it gets interesting. He knows this, not intellectually, perhaps not in words he could explain at dinner, but on some instinctive level, buried deep in his masculine psychology, he understands that this position, this angle, this arrangement of your body opens a doorway. And he's watching for your response, not with his eyes necessarily, with something older, something more attuned, something primal. Men read women the way sailors read the sea. Through subtle shifts, the change in your breathing, the way your fingers press into his shoulders or release, the micro expressions that cross your face before you even know you're making them. When he lifts your legs, he's not following a script from some film or fantasy. He's testing the waters, asking a question without words. Can I come closer? Will you let me in? And your body answers, sometimes before your mind even registers the question. A slight arch, a softer exhale, the way your gaze either holds his or drifts, surrendering to sensation, the tiny tremor in your thigh, the way your lips part without conscious thought, the subtle shift in your vocal tone if you're making any sound at all. These are the signals he's actually responding to. Not the position itself, but what the position reveals about your willingness to be fully present, fully open, fully there. He's reading your authenticity, your realness, the unscripted, unfiltered truth of your experience in that moment. And that truth, more than any technique or trick or pose, is what draws him deeper. This creates something researchers call a feedback loop, but that clinical term doesn't capture the poetry of what's actually happening. It's more like a dance where neither partner is leading, yet both are moving in perfect synchronization. Your surrender deepens his presence. His presence intensifies your sensation fuels his focus allows you to let go even more round and round, each response amplifying the next, until you're both on a current neither of you created, but both are riding. It's a conversation conducted entirely without words, where every breath and touch and micro movement is both question and answer, invitation and acceptance, offering and receiving all at once. Now let's talk about what he sees, because contrary to what every magazine and advertisement has told you, it's not about how you look, not in the way you think. When your legs are raised, when your body is arranged in that particular geometry, he's not critiquing your thighs or cataloging imperfections. He's reading symbols, ancient ones, archetypal ones written into male psychology long before language existed. The image of a woman with raised legs speaks a primal language. It says, I trust you. It says, I'm not guarding myself. It says, I choose this. I choose you. In this moment, I'm not thinking about tomorrow's presentation or yesterday's argument or the laundry waiting downstairs. I'm not worried about how my body looks from this angle or whether I'm doing it right or what he's thinking. I'm here completely, unapologetically, undividedly here. And that full-bodied presence, that total immersion in the now radiates from you like heat. He doesn't just see it, he feels it. And it pulls him into the present moment with you, anchoring you both in a shared reality that exists nowhere else but between your two bodies in this singular moment. That openness, that lack of armor, that full body, yes, triggers something deep in masculine psychology. Not dominance, though that's the easy, shallow interpretation. Something more complex, more tender. It awakens his instinct to meet you in that openness, to protect the vulnerability you're showing, to be worthy of the trust you're offering. When you're fully present in your body, unguarded and uninhibited, he feels chosen in a way that has nothing to do with ego and everything to do with soul. There's a duality happening too, one that most people miss, because in that position, you're simultaneously vulnerable and powerful, soft and bold, receptive and commanding. Your body is saying, I'm open, while your presence is saying, I know what I want. You're exposed, yes, but you're also fully inhabiting yourself, yielding but not passive, receiving but not merely accepting. There's an active quality to your openness and intentionality to your surrender that makes it fundamentally different from just lying there. This combination, this fusion of seeming opposites, creates a magnetism that purely physical attraction never achieves. It's the feminine paradox made visible. Strength in softness, power in surrender, agency in receptivity. It's what makes the feminine so captivating to the masculine, not because it's weak or lesser, but because it contains contradictions the logical mind can't reconcile, but the body understands perfectly. And here's what really matters. He's not just looking at you. He's witnessing you. There's a difference. Being looked at feels like evaluation. Being witnessed feels like recognition. When you're fully inhabiting your body, when you're not performing or posing, but genuinely feeling, he sees something beyond flesh and form. He sees you, the actual you. The you that exists underneath the roles you play and the masks you wear. And in that moment of seeing and being seen, something sacred happens. You both step outside of time. Let's pause here and talk about power, because there's a dangerous myth floating around that equates surrender with weakness. That suggests letting someone else take the lead means you're giving something up, losing something. But that's not what's actually happening in this moment. Not even close. True surrender is not submission. Submission happens when you hand over control because you're afraid or pressured or don't know what else to do. Surrender happens when you're so secure in yourself that you can let go without fear, when you trust deeply enough to release the constant monitoring, the mental management, the need to control every variable. Surrender is not passive, it's wildly, courageously active. It's saying, I am powerful enough to be soft. I am strong enough to receive. When you allow your legs to be lifted, when you let your body be arranged, when you give him permission to guide the rhythm and depth and intensity, you're not giving up power. You're wielding it differently. You're using your strength to create space for his. You're choosing vulnerability from a place of security, not insecurity. You're saying yes from a place of want, not obligation. And that permission, that consent, that active choosing to let him in becomes the most potent aphrodisiac in the world. Not your body, your trust, not your beauty, your willingness, not your perfection, your presence. He can have 1,000 physical experiences that are technically similar, but without this element, without your wholehearted participation in the moment, they remain hollow, surface level, forgettable. What makes it unforgettable is not what your body does, but how your spirit shows up. This creates a circular current of intimacy. He offers guidance. You offer trust. He deepens focus. You deepen surrender. He becomes more present. You become more open. The energy moves between you like electricity through a closed circuit, gaining intensity and power with each pass. Neither of you is depleting the other. You're generating something together that neither could create alone. This is what transforms a physical act into an emotional experience, what turns bodies touching into souls meeting. And here's what nobody tells you, doesn't end when the moment does. That level of presence, that depth of connection, that experience of being fully seen and fully safe leaves an imprint, not just in memory, in your nervous system. Your body records it, files it away in a library of experiences marked safe, marked good, marked worth repeating. Days later, even weeks later, something will remind you, a certain look, a particular touch, the way he says your name, and your body will remember not the mechanics, but the feeling, the sensation of being completely, utterly yourself and having that be not just enough, but everything. He carries it differently. Men often can't articulate emotional experiences the way women can, but that doesn't mean they're not feeling them. After a moment of genuine connection, Something shifts in how he relates to you. His eye contact lingers a fraction longer. His touch becomes more deliberate, more intentional, as if he's handling something precious. He listens more carefully when you speak. He reaches for your hand more often. He checks in more frequently, not out of obligation, but from genuine care. These are the signs that intimacy has deepened emotional bonds, not just satisfied physical urges. He's not just remembering what happened. He's remembering who you were in it. The woman who was brave enough to be soft, bold enough to be vulnerable, confident enough to surrender. And somewhere in his psychology, often beneath conscious awareness, he's marking you as safe, as special, as someone who offers him something most people never will, the chance to be fully himself while being fully with another person. This moment becomes a thread connecting you, a shared secret, a private language. In the middle of a crowded room weeks later, he might catch your eye and you'll both know. You remember simultaneously, without words, what it feels like to be that open with another human being, a slight smile, a knowing glance, an inside joke that isn't funny to anyone else because it's not about humor, it's about recognition. That memory becomes an anchor point in your relationship, a reminder that beneath the logistics of life, beneath the mundane negotiations and routine conversations, beneath the stress of bills and schedules and responsibilities, you're capable of profound connection. You've been there together. You know the way back. You can return whenever you choose to drop the armor, release the agenda, and simply be present with each other again. And that knowledge, that certainty, that depth is available when you need it, sustains relationships through seasons when life demands you function on the surface. Now, let's go deeper, because there's a layer beneath even this. A truth so fundamental that everything else is just the surface rippling. That move, that moment, that position he keeps returning to isn't really about sensation at all. It's about something humans have been chasing since consciousness began the dissolution of separation. The experience of oneness, the temporary but total annihilation of the boundary between self and other. Think about what defines our normal experience of life. We walk around as isolated islands of consciousness, locked inside our own heads, unable to truly know what another person feels or thinks or experiences. We can guess, we can empathize, we can communicate with words and touch and gestures, but we remain fundamentally alone, separate, distinct, enclosed in the prison of individual perspective. And that separation on some deep level is the source of most human suffering. We long to bridge that gap, to truly merge with another soul, to stop being alone, to know and be known so completely that the boundary between self and other becomes meaningless, even if just for a moment. Intimacy is our attempt at that merging. And in the position we've been discussing, something about the physics of closeness, the angle of connection, the depth of presence required, creates a temporary but real experience of boundary dissolution. The barriers we normally maintain, the personal space we defend, the emotional walls we keep up to stay safe, all of it collapses in on itself. For just a moment, maybe just a handful of heartbeats, the line between where he ends and you begin blurs, gets fuzzy, almost disappears. You're not sure where your breath ends and his begins. You can't tell if the heartbeat you're feeling is yours or his or some combination of both. And in that space, you're not two people engaging in an act. You're one unified field of sensation and emotion and presence. One temporary constellation of experience that exists only in this moment and will never exist exactly this way again. This is what he's actually craving. Not the position, not the visual, not the physical sensation, though that's the language his body uses to seek it. What he wants, what every human wants at the deepest level, is to stop being separate, to belong, to merge, to come home to something larger than his individual self. And you, in your willingness to meet him in that space of profound vulnerability and presence, offer him that experience, not as a gift you give, as a reality you create together. Men don't usually have words for this. They can't say, I lift your legs, because I'm trying to dissolve the existential isolation of individual consciousness. They don't walk around aware that what they're really seeking is mystical union. But that doesn't make it less true. Male desire, at its deepest level, is not about conquest or release or ego gratification. It's about connection, closeness, intimacy, the desperate, wordless need to be let in, to be received, to belong to and with another human being so completely that for a moment, the terrible aloneness of existence disappears. This is why that position, that moment, carries such weight. It's not just about the physical geometry, and it's about what the geometry represents: maximum closeness, minimum distance, the physical manifestation of emotional and spiritual intimacy that he craves but rarely knows how to ask for directly. And here's the invitation to live this fully. not to perform it, not to think about it, not to narrate it while it's happening, but to inhabit it. Next time he reaches for you, next time his hands slide beneath your knees, next time that shift happens and everything changes, don't just let it happen to you. Meet it. Breathe into it. Let your body speak its own language without your mind translating. Let sensation be sensation without turning it into story. Let the moment be exactly what it is, nothing more and nothing less. And discover what happens when you stop managing intimacy and start living it instead. Trust that your body knows what to do. Trust that your authentic response is more powerful than any choreographed reaction. Trust that being real is infinitely more attractive than being perfect. And most of all, trust that in showing up fully as yourself, vulnerable and present and alive, you're offering something rare and precious that most people never experience. Genuine connection in a world full of performance. Because here's the final truth: your power lies not in controlling the experience, but in being fully present for it. Not in looking a certain way, but in feeling completely. Not in doing something right, but in being undeniably, unapologetically yourself. When you bring that level of authenticity to intimacy, when you let your real responses guide you rather than some imagined script, you unlock something most people never access. A level of connection that transforms not just the moment, but how you understand yourself, how you relate to your body, and what you know is possible between two human beings willing to be fully, courageously present with each other. This is the secret that no one tells you about intimacy. It's not about performance, it's about presence. It's not about technique, it's about truth. It's not about getting it right, it's about being real. And when you show up that way with nothing to prove and nothing to hide, you give him permission to do the same. You create a space where both of you can stop performing and start experiencing. Where both of you can drop the mask and meet each other as you actually are, not as you think you should be. And that, more than any position or practice or protocol, is what transforms physical touch into emotional intimacy. That's what turns a moment into a memory. That's what builds connection that doesn't fade when the lights come back on and regular life resumes. So the next time he reaches for you, the next time you feel that shift beginning, remember, you're not being asked to perform, you're being invited to presence, and your willingness to accept that invitation to show up fully in your body, in your heart, in your truth is the greatest gift you can offer, not just to him, to yourself.